Hello everyone, this is Rocio Flores with CoachRoflores.com, and today's topic for the month is determined direction versus pressured resolutions, planning a year aligned with your needs, not other people's expectations. And before I get started, just want to give you guys a heads up. My kid and my husband, or my kid isn't doing it. My husband's putting up lights around the house, and so my son's running around the house. My window's right in front of me. The door's right here. I keep hearing slamming and stuff, so if you guys hear a bunch of noise, that's what it is. Sorry about that. I can't do anything about it right now. It's keeping my son nice and occupied because he wants me to be out there. But I needed to get this video out. This has been a really cool month for me. I got some big news. So if you haven't been keeping up with, I'm a published author. Ooh, ooh, look at that. I'm so excited. The launch of the book went really good, and it was really fun. It was really cool to see just people's responses to it, and then like it's been so cool because I was freaking out. I was like, the last couple months I was stressed, so stressed, and so now I feel like it's like, oh, okay, I got through the hard part, and now it's just, now I'm planning my new year to kind of understand, because I did this part, but obviously you can't just write the book and then not look at it again and then just be like, oh, it's just a thing I did, and then never talk about it again. I have to talk about it, I have to sell it, I have to, go through the marketing process. So I'm having to plan what that looks like for over the next year, and what's aligned with me, what's not, etc. And so it would help me if you guys just bought it, that way I don't have to do any of that. But those of you who have read it, those of you who have given me responses, thank you so much, and I really hope you like it. If you did get it and you haven't read it yet, I really hope you like it, and I would love to hear your thoughts about it. Let me drink some water because I'm already starting off way too fast. Also, this month has been, like I said, I've been super stressed out. So the last couple weeks, I feel like my body was just like broken. Like it was like, sit the F down. And every time I try to do something new comes up. My wrists have been hurting so bad just from doing all the little, like, I made little stickers. I made like, I did a lot of little craft stuff, a lot of just fun stuff. But I forced myself to get everything done as soon as possible, to get it, like, my body's physically super tired, and I feel like I'm getting sick, but won't get sick and off sick, if that makes sense. I know it's the season, the weather changes, and with allergies and stuff like that, everyone, sore throat all the time. Oh, so annoying. And then I broke my tooth, or my filling, and I have to go get that fixed. So much, which is aligned with what the topic of today is, because I set some new intentions for the new year. And one of them being that I do not want to be so focused on the negative this next year. Because if you guys know me, I'm a very negative Nancy. I'm a very pessimistic person. Like, naturally, that's where my state goes. Like, I automatically think the bad thing, and I have to work really hard to think the good thing. And so I'm kind of wanting to work on that as a concept for my new year, of just kind of entering with a little bit more positivity, more optimism. And it's what I'm going to be working on through the year. So I don't expect myself on January 1st to be like, I'm a new person. And that's part of what I want to talk about with this topic today, because it's the New Year, New Me season. And you're going to start seeing everybody post their resolutions. You're going to post people who are making fun of people who do resolutions. You're going to see people who do the resolutions and they commit to them. Like, this is their life-changing moment. And then there's people who, like everyone else, like, I forgot what the stats are, but like the vast majority of people who set a resolution, they're done with it by February, I think, something like that. You see ticks, like, this is the best year for gyms, because this is when, like, people are going to sign up to go to the gym, and then they're not going to show up. So they get the money, but without people actually sticking with it. And then you get all the gym people who are complaining about the people who show up in January, but then don't keep going, so they take up the space, blah, blah, blah. I feel like just thinking about that can be really stressful. Isn't it weird how, like, it's just another day. Time is like an illusion, right? Like, it's like a concept that we made up to kind of help us organize ourselves. And yet we're supposed to, like, force ourselves, because it's a new day, to do our life differently. And that's just how it is. And we have this huge expectation on us that we need to be new people, or you need to be, at the end of the year, December, being able to list out all of the things you accomplished, all of the things that you did well, all the things that you know, everything that happened. And it kind of sucks when you get to the end of the year and it wasn't a good year. Like maybe you don't have all the accomplishments, right? Or bad things happened. And it's hard to feel the feelings of like, oh, I'm not keeping up with the expectation that I have for myself, or that other people had for me, or that life has for me. Like at a certain age, I should have a house, I should have kids, I should have this, I should have that. And so starting off this, in order for us to maybe not live in that kind of world, and to choose a path that's going to help us actually make the decisions that feel right for us throughout our life, but specifically within the next year. I want to go over the Be Yourself framework, and hopefully that helps you with making decisions about how to move forward from here on. Okay, so first and foremost, we're going to start with self-awareness. I want to ask you, okay, what kind of goals do you set because you think you should set them? Obviously, there's the big ones like lose weight, or start working out, or stop drinking. You know, there's the whole, dry January that people do. There's, what are other big ones? People will be like, this year's the year I pay off my debt. This is the year I get a house. This is the year there's a lot of things. And so I think a good idea is to kind of just think about the things that you're feeling that pressure, that you're like, okay, well, I feel like I'm supposed to be wanting to do this. I'm supposed to be going back on a diet, or, sorry, I'm trying to get comfy. There's a lot of things, obviously, that people can do. But maybe you have more specific things in your own life, like, oh, I need to work on my relationship. I need to, there's things that some of them feel like, well, this is a thing that matters, right? Like, if your finances are a complete mess, if you got legal issues, if you're having actual life issues because of your, substance use, those are things that matter. It's not like it doesn't matter if you're having really big health issues, and changing the way you eat or being more active is going to make a difference to those health issues. Like, those aren't bad things. I do think sometimes when it comes to this topic and this theme around this month, people go on the opposite end, and then they'll start just saying like, you don't need to change anything, or even wanting to change certain things is a bad thing, etc. And so I don't think that's where they're coming from. I do think a lot of people, like, especially when they're trying to get away from these, like, scaring topics of, like, oh, you being fat means you're, like, a less worthy being. And so if your goal is to lose weight, you're sticking with that idea that, like, there's something wrong with you because you haven't hit that ideal in the world, right? And so then people will be like, you need to let go of that phobia and, not focus on that. And then on the other end, people will be like, but you have to still eat healthy and work out and do all these things because that's good for you. And so then it can be, I guess it could get very complex and heavy and confusing, and it can make you feel like you're being pulled in many ways. I know for me, that's something that happens. I'll use weight as an example because my weight goes up and down. And then I have issues with, like, eating issues. Not to go into many details, but like I struggle with something that's consistently what I should be doing. If that makes sense. Like I'll feel that pull of like, oh, you need to stop eating this. You need to stop doing this. Like, you shouldn't be eating hot Cheetos all the time. You shouldn't be doing this. And then it's like, but no, I want to be more focused on more of that intuitive, like, what does my body want right now? What does it need? And because I go up and down over the last few years, instead of setting a goal of like, I'm going to lose this much weight, or I'm gonna start going to the gym, because first of all, that's not me. I have more bigger ideas of what I want to focus on. So for example, like, I really focus on intuitive eating over the last few years, learning about it, understanding what my body, how it responds to different foods, how it responds to stress. Like, why do I sometimes feel like eating a whole box of candy? How can I maybe still get that thing I want without it feeling like I have to have it all or else it's never coming back? Like that diet culture idea, like eat everything in the house before Monday. Versus like just having stuff in the house. How do I feel a sense of self-control where like I don't overeat things that maybe aren't so good, because like I said, I have teeth issues. You should see how much candy I eat. This last couple months when I've been super stressed, I have been going to the store specifically to buy boxes of candy. And when I mean box of candy, I don't mean one individual candy. I mean the big package with 16 of them, and then I eat them all in one afternoon. That's not good for my health, regardless of weight. Like at this age, I'm starting to get scared of like health issues like diabetes and bringing on certain issues because of the way I eat. And overall, I'm not a person who like my focus, I don't want it to be specifically on weight. I over the years when I've lost weight, I didn't like the feeling that it gave me at the end, especially when people start to compliment you and people start to say nice things about you and they kind of treat you differently. It made me feel bad. And so I realized that like my value isn't in looking a certain way, it's in feeling a certain way and in enjoying myself and my body in a certain way. And so another thing I've done is, for example, I've been working on building up my stamina for physical activity, because my kid is very fast, very energetic, and he weighs more every single day, and I want to continue to be able to keep up with him. Also, my parents deal with a lot of health issues. I'm afraid of getting to an older age, and because I didn't take care of didn't work on certain things, I'm going to be at a higher risk of like falling and stuff like that, just because we have like arthritis that runs in our family, etc. So rather than being like, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to like lift weights, because that's not, one, I'm not going to do it because I hate going to the gym. So I'm understanding that that's not a thing I'm going to do. I don't feel the pull to like show the world, look how strong or how fit or how, like, I don't feel that pull anymore. But over the years, I've increased my capacity to walk. So I am able to get significantly more steps in a day naturally without pushing myself to do it. I just more active, like sit down for too long and I'm like, I want to get up and I want to go do stuff. I'm capable of almost doing a pull-up, which is when I want, because I want to be able to go play in the park with my kid and then do it like I used to be when I was a kid. I'm able to run around with him all the time. I'm able to, there's a lot of things I've been able to do, like my heart rate I don't react the same way as I used to, where like it would hurt. I've tackled my asthma to help me with that, so now I can run and I really enjoy running. So there's a lot of things that I've seen the difference. And I noticed that difference when my focus wasn't on hitting a hard, like, you need to lose weight or you need to do this workout plan, blah, blah, blah. It was more when I was focusing on the intention and the value that change was going to give my life. And so as you think about goals that you feel like you need to change, things that you need to do, things that you need to focus on, another thing is for you to focus kind of like, what are the thoughts behind that? Like, how do you feel about it? Does it make you feel pressured? Does it make you feel like, yeah, I have to do this thing or else I'm never going to be good enough? Or what are some of like the family ideals that you're kind of pushing? Like, are you like, oh yeah, I have to hit a certain goal because my family is going to judge me if I don't do this by this age, or if I don't. What about culture, right? Our culture tells us by age 30 something, you should have kids and a house, and like things that realistically, for at least for our generation, is not very realistic in the long term. And it's not always extremely common either. Social media is going to make you feel pretty shitty during that first month of the year. That's just how it is. Everyone's posting either their accomplishments from last year or their brand new big changes, right? And so it can make you feel like, I also have to commit to some big change. And then also your own feelings of and ideas of what you should have been able to do at a certain point, especially for those of us who have dealt with trauma, those who have like that arrested development throughout our life, where like we spent a lot of our formative years dealing with very difficult situations, not going through identity formation like other people who maybe had really healthy family systems. And so then we spent our 20s just trying to survive and become like a grown-up, like growing up, like finally getting that like last little bit of push into the world that sometimes people are already prepared to do at 19. And so it can feel like, well, at this point I should be different, like my life should be different. Then there's those of us who made decisions when we were young that affected us for many, many years, like people who've done things like if you have legal issues, financial issues, like debt, people who got married very young but were in healthy relationships, people who had kids very young, and that, not that it was a bad thing, but necessarily, but it affects your life and it stops you from being able to do other things. And so now you're like, I should have gone to college. I should have used credit cards. I should have done it. Like, there's a lot of things, shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? And so then if you step into today, what are all your thoughts around this? Where are all the things that are happening to you? How is your body feeling when you think about the idea of like a new year coming? Do you feel excited? Do you feel like you shut down? Is there excitement? Is there pressure? Is there that feeling of like, the next Monday I get to start, right? So like January 1st, new day, I get to start over. What are some of the things that come up for you, basically? If I don't drink water constantly, my throat gets so dry. I'm used to talking to a kid all day. And then I want you to think about, like, what are some of the things that you have set forth for yourself before that didn't work out? And part of this is just becoming aware of kind of why didn't it work out. Like I said, for me, I've set weight loss goals in the past. I've set fitness goals in the past. Anything that was too regimented, like you have to do this workout every single day, was very stressful for me. One, it takes my entire, and this part's because I have ADHD, and so, you know, part of my brain is kind of like, if you have one thing on the schedule, that's my focus, and I cannot, it's almost like I can't live a life around that. And so I need like flexibility to allow me to move things around, because as soon as something goes wrong or I have something that gets in the way, 1 second. Sorry, I have an automatic kitty litter machine and it went off for now, so it takes a while. So for me, again, anything that's like a catch up daily kind of task is going to be really hard for me, just in general. Life comes up and I just, once I'm off the track, like, it's very hard to get back on. Another thing is, it's not a thing I value. Like, I'm not big on, like, you know, I there's people who really enjoy like the fitness culture. They really like, it's just, you know, obviously it's a whole world. If you follow any of the wellness culture stuff online, I never really felt connected to it. It was like, it was never my goal. It was never something I was aligned with, to be able to do certain, like, to look a certain way. It just wasn't a thing I liked. And so then it didn't motivate me to continue moving forward. With eating, if I set any goal that was like, you can't have, like, I'm gonna eat hot Cheetos, they're gonna be in my life, right? I'm gonna have soda, I'm gonna have coffee, things like that. I don't want to not have them, like, especially like coffee, right? Like, a lot of people stop drinking caffeine in the new year. I like the culture around coffee. It's a hobby of mine. I like to make lattes. So like, even right now, I have my new latte machine. I'm having fun making stuff again, and I don't want to stop doing that because it's a high calorie thing. Like, I don't need to have 3 lattes in a day. That's probably not a good idea. I don't need to make heavy cream lattes all the time. I don't have to go into the extreme end where I'm only focused on doing a thing that maybe it isn't so great for my health. But I can focus on having the thing I want and still considering the health effects, right? To me, that makes a lot of more sense. Like, when I was focused on you cannot have anything, all I wanted was that thing. That's just how my brain kind of focuses on that. And so I know that is, anything too restricted is gonna cause an issue for me. On the other hand, there's people who need very specific, like, back when I used to work as a nutritionist, I had people who they needed, like, I need to know exactly what I'm eating every single day, and I am going to stick to that, and that is all I will do, and I'm perfectly fine with it. Like, some people are like, I just need very clear step-by-step directions. They need a set day, like my meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, tell me exactly what to do. And they thrive in that. So in the past, have you maybe set goals that were a little bit too, sorry y'all, my phone overheated and turned off. See, things happen. Another thing I was going to bring up is the idea of, like, what are the things that you genuinely do need in order for your life to move forward or to continue in a way that is better aligned with what you want in your life. Like, if you have debt issues, if you have credit issues, if you have legal issues, like, I think we can tell ourselves, like, things are just going to get better. but a lot of the times you genuinely need to just take actual steps to make those things become better, right? And so what are the things that you're like, okay, this is just pressure based, like the world is just telling me I need to do this. These are things I actually need to work on, and then this is what I have the capacity to do. That's the next step. Like, what does your life look like, and what are you having, like, what do you have the capacity for? For example, what are the things that are going to happen this year? Is it fair for you to try and say that you're going to do a bunch of traveling if you don't make enough money to meet your like daily needs? Is it fair for you to be like, I'm going to become this, like, I mean, anything that you think of, like, it's very easy for us to say, I'm going to do all these great things, and then your life just doesn't allow for it. Like me, I have to consider the fact that I have a toddler. I want to be with my toddler, right? And so I can't set goals that are not aligned with my daily living with my kid. Like people will sometimes tell me, well, you could just do this, or you could just put him in daycare, or you could just, and it's like, yeah, I can. And that's not what I want to do with my life right now, because I want a certain experience. And so if I want something else, I have to think about how it aligns with what else I'm doing. The same goes with people who, if you have things in the way, if you have a lot of debt and your credit's really low and you are not living in the greatest situation, you have no savings, then the idea of like, I'm going to get a house this year, it's a very big goal within a short amount of time. A year sounds like a lot of time, and it doesn't mean you can't do things that are big and huge and magnificent. It just means that you have to consider what's actually taking place in your life and how to get through that. For example, how much time do you have? Like if you are working 60 hours a week, and then you are, even if you're a single person, right? You work a ton of hours, you do all the cooking and cleaning in your own home, and you have to commute, and like, let's just say that you just genuinely don't have that much time at the end of the day. What is possible within that time that you do have versus I'm just gonna make a bunch more time appear out of nowhere? If you have a job that's super difficult, super stressful, or super like, hard on your body, maybe the thing that needs to change first is the job in order for you to then be able to do that other thing. Or you have to figure out how to do that other thing within your energy levels because of that job. Same goes for like, I want to go to school full time. If it costs money and that you don't have, and you don't have the capacity to get, like, you have to work on, well, what do loans look like? What do scholarships look like? What's available to me? What does the time frame look like? A lot of the times we just, like, it's not a bad thing to just go and do it and figure it out on the way. But of course, this isn't so much to tell you that you should or shouldn't do a thing. It's more so, how do you do the thing you want in a way that makes sense and that keeps you going, so you don't burn out by the halfway through the year and then quit everything and then tell yourself, see, I couldn't do it anyways. Because a lot of times that is like, we have an underlying belief that we're just not capable, that we're not good enough, that other people are better than us, more capable, more deserving. And so this is where we need to consider, sometimes we're just not being realistic with the intentions that we're setting for ourselves. And then I had another question within this is, how often are you thinking about something? Again, it's a cultural expectation, family expectation, etc., where you're like, really, like, I need to do this now. There's an urgency instead of importance. Like something, rather than it being aligned with what you want in your life, it's based on a timeline that is not yours. I used to think, and I mean, all of us kind of go through this, where we feel like we need to hit certain goals by a certain time, or else like we're not on track. And I remember that, especially when I was younger, because I was married, right? Because I wasn't out partying or whatever people consider a bad thing, I would get praise for it. And I knew a lot of people who were struggling in other ways, right? Maybe they couldn't get married yet, they weren't in a relationship, or they're having money troubles, or they're out doing things they shouldn't be doing in the sense of what other people think of them, right? And so there was almost like a sense of pride of like, well, at least I'm not that bad, if that makes sense, which is really messed up, by the way. But then you get to a certain age where you're like, oh, maybe I should have been doing that, because we're at the same age now and we're all level again. Like, the people that you may judge as having not had their life together before, maybe we're just on a different timeline, and now you're both on the same timeline and you're in the same spot, and you're like, what did I do with my life, etc. Like, I should be ahead. And so we do a lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas on ourselves because of this idea that, like, we're comparing ourselves to others, and we're telling ourselves that certain things have to happen at a certain time. And you know those posts and like stories of like, this guy didn't start writing till he was 50 something, and he got his first book published at 60. And those are awesome, but it also kind of can make you a little bit like, so I don't get to have what I want until I'm old, or I don't get to do this until later. Like, it also creates this other sense of like, it's an otherness, if that makes sense. Like, the idea of what's capable and what's doable and what your life can do is just this other thing. It has nothing to do with what's happening in your actual life. And that can get in the way of you being able to look at what you can do. When I started writing my book, I didn't think about the publishing process. I just thought, well, let me just like put together what I already have. Then when I put it together, the next goal was like, hey, I wonder if I can like, you know, like the first step was just looking for my stuff. Like, what have I written in the past? What do I feel like writing? What looks like I could turn into something? And then it was just putting it on, like, well, typing it, not on paper, but like typing it. And when I realized like some of these have like themes that make sense with each other, like I could put these ones together, like maybe I can make it into like a collection that is saying this thing. Like, it took me, every step had to be its own like goal, its own decision. Because if I had told myself I'm gonna write a book and I'm gonna get it published, in the past I had thought that it didn't sound realistic at all, because I don't even know have any idea what that even looks like, what it meant, like what is, like, how do you get an idea? Like, if I had told myself I'm gonna write a book about this and then tried to write, it wouldn't have made sense. Like, is it doable? Is it possible? Do people do it? Yes. Is it what's gonna work for most people? Is it how your brain is gonna allow you to do things? Not always. So let's move into self-acceptance. We all have a limited amount of time, a limited amount of access, limited resources, limited capacity, limited time, energy. We are not superhumans. And I know it sucks to think that. I know it sucks to not be Superwoman or Superman. It sucks to not have all the capacity in the world, or all the money and all the time and all the energy and all the help and all the support systems. It sucks. And that's life. It sucks. The quicker you get to the point where like you're just a person. Like, one thing I've seen, if you look at the stories of a lot of really, really famous or really people who did like huge things in their life, and like all the movies always put such an emphasis on how messed up their home life was, because even the most powerful person only has a certain amount of capacity, and something's got to give somewhere, right? And so you could try to do it all, and you're gonna be limited as to what you can do. There's people who seem like they have it all, and you don't know how many resources and access they've had to things that make those things easier. A person that works out way easier than you might have a gym in their apartment complex, versus somebody whose closest gym is an hour away. So you don't, it's very easy for us to tell ourselves like, well, if that person can do it, I could do it. And it's like, well, technically. And you don't have to. Like, it is okay to have limits on the actions that you take. It's not a bad thing. You can want a house, and instead of saying I'm going to do it this year, give yourself a 5-year plan where you're like, okay, this year I'm going to work on my debt, next year I'm going to work on my credit, then I'm going to work on savings, then I'm going to work on the process, like, and then I'll work on the actual house. Like, it's okay to understand that things take time. And then there's things that just, for example, when we were getting our house, we thought for 2024, I had it in my head that, okay, I'm gonna get my house this year. It seemed doable, and I had it like, this is my big goal for the year, I'm gonna get a house. And then at the end of the year, the house just wasn't ready. The house was done. We had thought we were gonna move in at a certain point, and then it took almost 6 months after that for all the paperwork, all the legalities, all the like things that we had no control over. So what was I supposed to do? Just no longer like, it shifted everything, obviously, because in my head I'm like already planning not to be in the house. I was already being like, screw this place. My mind is already in a different world. But I wasn't in a different world. I was still living in a different place. I was still not moved into a new home. My life had to continue regardless of this outside thing that was happening. And it wasn't that 2024 was a wash because that goal wasn't met. Sometimes things take time. The most, like, there's people who, if weight loss is their thing, like losing weight in a healthy way takes time. Keeping it off takes time. The habits that you need to do, to be able to eat healthy for the rest of your life are going to take the rest of your life. So if you tell yourself, if I don't hit this goal by this year, then I'm ruined almost, like that's an idea that you feel. Well, it's okay, because if you had hit that goal, you had to continue doing the goal. Like, when you're doing stuff that you want in your life, like, I want to live by these values, I want to live by these ideas, you have to keep living by them even after you've done the thing. So you can't, like, this idea of like, we're gonna get to a place where we're just done, we hit all our goals, we did all the things, happily ever after, and it's like life continues after that, right? So it's shifting your mindset from thinking of your world in this limited time, and like I have to do things in a certain amount of time, and I have to hit goals by a certain amount of moments. It's just allowing yourself your humanity, because you're a human being. You don't have to do anything in any specific way. Like, you just can just be. That's the other thing of self-acceptance. Like, you how do I say this? Like, you just are. That's hard to say. You're allowed to just be. You're allowed to be a person who doesn't have new goals at the end of the year, at the beginning of the year. You're allowed to not have anything to share with the world about what you did for this year and how many accomplishments you had. You're allowed to be a person who wakes up every day, has their coffee, makes breakfast, takes a shower, goes to work, hits their necessary goal of work, like just, whatever task you have to do, goes home, makes dinner, watches TV, and goes to bed. And there's a lot of hatred of that, especially if you're in the self-help world or around people who are really into finance and stuff like that. Like, you're gonna get a lot of people, the toxic positivity people, like, you're gonna get a lot of people who are like, you're wasting your life, or you're like, there's something wrong if you don't have ambitions for something greater. And then it does make you feel bad. But let me tell you this, when I was a kid and things weren't so great, when we were dealing with a lot of hardship, when we were dealing with fear and pain and just no control over our lives, all I wanted was to be able to just wake up, have my breakfast, go to school, come home, watch TV, go to bed. Like, I wasn't, like, there are people right now, people who are going through horrible things. People who live in places in the world where they have zero control over what's going on in their life. They would love to have your life. Like, your life that you're judging as meaningless or non-deserving, etc., is their goal. And that's okay. You can be happy with what you have. You could be like, my goal is to be grateful for what I have for the rest of my life. People may judge it, but it's not about them. It's about you and what you want in your life. And I'm giving you permission for it. Somebody tells you something, be like, no, Rocio said that was okay. I'm gonna get mad at me. I remember someone once told me that wasn't very positive when I had mentioned that, like, I talked somebody out of doing a thing that they wanted them to do. Because to them, it was like, you have to be ambitious and you have to want this thing and you have to, like, they were trying to make us know. But they were like, that's very negative. And I was like, yeah, and it's also realistic. It's like, is it negative because you're not getting what you want out of it? Or is it negative because you genuinely think that that's not, like, are you putting the thought of the other person, like, what they need for their life? And I stand by it just because I see the results of what happened in that person's life, and it's like, oh, it was better for them to focus on other things. Um, in a sense, my negativity was still focused on optimism and on giving acceptance to the person. 1 second. The kid decided to start banging on the door. I've been away from him for a while, so he's not liking me. Another thing is, okay, direction doesn't require perfection, it requires honesty. In order to move forward with your life, you need to, it's not about trying to create this idea of what's right and good and perfect for yourself. It's being honest with where you're at, with who you are, and what you want in your life. Again, you don't have to want what other people want. Like, I understand that you're supposed to want a fancy car. You're supposed to want a fancy house. You're supposed to want the latest, greatest, etc. It's okay to look at those things and be like, I don't like that. Like, I want something different. And that's not to say that you shouldn't have ambition for greater things. I that's how some people will take it. But that's not, at the end of the day, what is it that you yourself actually want? And it's okay if you do want bigger, greater things that are more acceptable within the world. It's more about like being honest with that for yourself. Because again, if you're putting a lot of emphasis on what you should be doing, but you want something different, or you're not being honest about your capacity, or you're not being honest about your what you're willing to do for it, then you're just kind of out of integrity. You're, what do you call it, incongruent, that's the word. And nothing's gonna work out, because that's just, it's, you just, bleh, right, you can't make it work out. And then with self-acceptance comes looking at, okay, what are your values? What does your life look like? What are your beliefs? And within that framework, what's realistic within that? If your faith is a huge part of your life and you're trying to follow certain guidelines that go within that, that's going to get in the way of certain ideas of what you should or shouldn't do, right? You got to consider, do I want this more than this? Is this aligned with my life? Is this not? Maybe you're being pushed into something because of your faith, because of your beliefs. You're being told like you have to do things a certain way, or else, you know, you're not within this framework and you're like, no, I want to do this. Those are things that you need to come to terms with. When you get to that point where you're like, this is what I believe, this is what I want with my life, this is what I want my life to look like. Anything and anybody's influence into those things, it's just outside influence. It's just that. It's just you're able to look at it and be like, yeah, that sounds great, and I want to go this way. Like, that's a good idea, and I've chosen this path. Okay, so the next big pillar is self-love. I'm trying to think of how to like word this one, but you know, I'm big on the idea that you have to learn how to love yourself, and like the idea that not loving yourself out of like the specialness of yourself, but of like your innate worth of self. And so if you can focus less on directing shame at yourself for what you can and can't do, or won't accept or want in your life, and you focus more on this, like, I am an innate worthy human being. If I am the lowest of the low, if the world crumbles around me, if I have absolutely nothing, if I am naked sitting on a piece of rubble, I am equally innately worthy of love as a person at the top of a mountain of gold and riches. Like, you could hit every single standard, every single goal, achievement. You could literally be the president of the United States. Like, you could be the top of the top. You could get to the top and still have a deep hatred of yourself. You could still dislike yourself. You could still not want goodness for yourself, or feel like you deserve goodness for yourself. And that can affect everything in your life, regardless of how many things you get. We hear this all the time. People who have it all and yet they have nothing, right? Like, if you focus more on building up that self-love, than shaming yourself for not being able to do things, then you're able to allow yourself the leeway to just move forward and just do the next thing that you need to do. And you're allowed to set goals that fit your reality, not the fantasy version of who you want to be, not this idea of who other people think you are. One year, one of my goals was to just I wanted to get better. My anxiety has been really bad throughout the years. I wanted to be able to talk to people a little easier, and so I just made a goal, like anytime I go to a cashier, I'm just gonna say hi. Like, it's just gonna be my goal, because I kind of grew up not like, I grew up in the city, we don't talk to people if we don't have to, and so I wanted to be better at like just kind of initiating a conversation and just letting it happen. And it was terrifying at first. You would think it shouldn't be because it's such a simple thing, but no, I was like, hi, how's your day? And it went from that to now I can have a conversation with the person. I can have conversations with any person in a way that it clicked after years and years of trying. So that like this year, I'm like talking to people and having a conversation with new people, and like I don't feel a feeling of anxiety at all. And that was a goal that I had to set for myself that maybe isn't glamorous, maybe isn't some huge like I'm gonna go speak in front of a bunch of people, because I would have told myself no. If you had told me that in order to get past social anxiety I have to go and do like really big things, I would have said no thank you, I don't want to, it's not worth it. And so the fantasy version of me is a person who can like, I mean, realistically, I remember going to this huge event where people spoke on stage, and then it was very big on the self-help kind of world and, you know, entrepreneurship and stuff, and then they kind of made it seem like one day you could be on this stage. And I remember thinking, like, I cannot imagine that. I can't see myself as a person who could get up on a stage and do these things. And even to today, I still kind of be like, I'm afraid of the idea of that, right? And yet this year, I spoke in front of a stage. And maybe it wasn't with the gusto that they had or the presence that ideal me would have. I still did this huge thing that was big for me. And so that was my reality. Maybe I could still have that future fantasy version sometime in the future, but it's never going to happen if I'm not thinking of who I am right here, right now. So another thing is your capacity is not a moral grade. Like I said, living is just enough. Like, if you just survive the year, that is enough. You not being able to do something, if you have chronic health issues, if you physically cannot do something, there is nothing morally wrong with you. There is nothing, like, my mom has chronic health issues. She physically can't do certain things. And there's a lot of shame associated with what you can and can't do. It sucks. Because it's like, well, she's gonna be judged for not having or not being able to do certain things, and it's like, but you just can't. That's not fair. Like, you need to be able to work on this idea that, like, again, your innate worth is not tied to what you can do. It's not tied to how much you can get done. It's not tied to how much you can achieve. Like, you living is enough. Write that down somewhere. Like, put it somewhere, okay? And then within that self-love, I think if you focus on goals or things that are going to move you towards self-compassion, towards overall well-being, pacing yourself so that it fits within your life and it's something that you're going to be able to sustain throughout your life, and choosing intentions that help with like your mind, your body, your soul. I know it sounds cheesy, and I'm not trying to come off very woo-ish, unless you love that stuff. A lot of people reject it right off the bat. It's like anything that sounds a little bit too gooey, I'm gonna be like, that's BS, right? And some people are very logic forward, and they're like, no, it doesn't sound right to not have very direct, firm, like, tasks again. Or some people really need, like, I need that one thing above all things. And it's like, okay, and yet if you want to keep that thing, if you want to become a CEO of a company, right, or you want to build some huge entrepreneurship, or you want to become, I can't even think of, what do people have goals? Whatever it is that you want to do, like, it's a thing you have to keep doing. So then you still have to be a person. You have to be a human being who's taking care of themselves as a human being. It's like you can't get to a certain goal and suddenly you don't have other needs. Like, it's like you still have to eat, you still have to shower, you still have to brush your teeth. Like, you still have to be a person. So putting focus on how you continue to be that way, how you continue to take care of your mental health and your body and your environment and your relationships and your work. Like, you still have to focus on making sure that the things that you do fit within those, because if not, there will be a crack in the veneer of the image that you place in yourself in the world. Like, if you let your family and your relationships fall and wither away because you're so focused on one goal, like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, that's a thing you'll have to deal with. Maybe if you can still get to that goal in a slower pace, but you're still taking care of this other section, maybe you'll get to that maybe later, but you'll be able to keep it longer. Okay, all right. Now the next one is self-care, so we're gonna go a little bit more specific. I think something you need to still consider is focusing on your minimum standard of care. If you haven't hit that yet, right? Like, let's say you're like, I want to work on my any of the things that you work on, you still need to, so you've heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'll have to give that as a resource, but you're basically like, there's like tiers. You look it up, but when you hit one tier, then you're better capable to work on the next tier, like your survival, to then like to get up to self-actualization. You kind of have to hit all of the different standards in order to get to the next rank. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time. I've talked about this concept many times. I don't know why I'm having a hard time explaining it. What I'm trying to get at is, maybe you're trying to set goals that are way up here when you haven't set up things that are down here. If you don't have a stable living condition right now, like I said, if you have debt, no credit, no savings, you're barely making it every month, you aren't living in your own place, you are living, crashing on someone's couch, you don't have an understanding of budgeting, you don't have any understanding of personal finance, like, yeah, you could set a goal like, this year I'm going to get a house, but you're going to have to speed run so many steps. You can start with the lower end, like, I'm going to work on creating a base level of financial security, like, from understanding where my finances are and where I can or can't save, or how I change my spending, or where I need to put my spending. Where am I going to be able to stay in this place long? Do I need to work on getting my own place first? Do I need to, what's going to create stability? That's financial self-care, right? Then there's body. I'll tell you this because a lot of diet plans start with like this huge change. I know, because like I said, I did the nutritionist thing for a long time. And they pretty much start Monday, you're going to do a bunch of stuff. And it's great because a lot of the times it's teaching you things that you really do need to do for your health, right? And yet, if you haven't actually put effort into those things, it's going to be really hard. One, you might really resist a lot of the things. I know for me, I really resisted a lot of changes. And then it could just be that you haven't put effort into what it looks like for you to take care of your body in the minimum range. So going to sleep and sleeping a healthy for you amount of hours. Drinking enough water. I can't get this one down. I have a hard time with it. Being able to do things like, so you like sleep, your water, actually eating enough throughout the day, remembering, to eat, like little things like that, like your basic standards of, like, maybe you need medication if you're in a really bad health situation, like maybe that needs to come before you can make health decisions. Maybe you need to understand your health, so you need to go to the doctor for the first time your adulthood. Like, some people don't go to the doctor, so they don't even know, and so they make all these changes and then it ends up being worse for them, and they don't understand why. And it's because, like, well, you're not in a healthy way, like eating this or taking this supplement or blah blah blah. Like people want to start at the end. They want to take all the supplements, all the protein shakes, and then work out a bunch, and then they don't even realize that like maybe the way to get healthy was to do very basic standard things that you're going to be able to sustain throughout your life. And so when everything fails, when you are halfway through February and you're like, I don't want to go to the gym anymore, screw this, it's too hard, what are the minimum things you could fall back on to take care of yourself? Because you need to take care of yourself even if you don't hit any goals. Like, you still need to, for your body and your, like, for your mind, right? Learning how to manage stress, breathing, your environment. How do you get out of an unhealthy environment? Because if you're not in a healthy environment, like people who are in abusive relationships, people who are in very toxic relationship with friends or work, or if your house isn't safe, like our old house was filled with mold, like black, like it was horrible. We were always sick, and it was just, oh, it was horrible. And so a big one for us was like, we just need to get into a healthy place. Like that's for the sake of your own. Like, you need to be safe. If you live in a place where like there's a lot of violence, if you live in a place where there's inconsistency, and uncertainty when it comes to food, like, yes, you could put these huge focuses on this outer world, and you might get good results from it. Like, it doesn't mean you don't get good results when you seek out good things. It just means that just make it easier on yourself if you just start with your minimums and you focus on that first. And then if you haven't heard about SMART goals, it stands for, oh dang it, I should have written it down. Sustainable, measurable, actionable, I think it was, the word means that you are able to track it, but how do you that's not recordable, it doesn't sound right. And then timed. I'll look it up. That'll be one of my resources on here for the month. But basically means, instead of saying I'm gonna set a goal that says I'm gonna lose weight, okay, what does that mean? You're gonna lose water weight, you're gonna lose muscle, you're gonna lose a certain amount of fat, right? Are you gonna eat a certain way? Like, what does that mean? What are the specific things you do? Then SMART goals would be like, well, what's a specific, that's the word, the beginning one is not sustainable, specific. Oh, it's been a bit since I read that. Like I said, my mind's not been great the last month. I've been tired. So a specific thing would be like, I am going to add a fruit to my breakfast 5 days a week for 2 months. So that way I can see how I feel. I'm getting more micronutrients. I'm getting myself used to having a different flavor palette in my mornings, and I want it to become a habit, etc. Right? And so then you're able to track it and see if it's something that you do. Maybe after that you're like, I'm gonna try eating a vegetable for lunch. I'm gonna try, like, I'm gonna drink 8 ounces of water every morning, or 3 out of 5 mornings. Like, you can do those very specific things that you're able to track and process, so that it makes it easier. And then if you break down really big goals into really smaller things, that's also going to help you. Like, again, I feel like I'm stuck with the same goal ideas, but let's say you want a house. You don't go from nothing to house, like for owning a house. You need to work on your debt, on your credit, on your savings, and then you got to look into the process of what it looks like to own a home, and then you got to look into the realities of the buying process, right? So those are 5 different areas to work on. If you're trying to tackle debt, there's a ton of information out in the world for it, but like with debt, there's like different methods to do it. There's first understanding what you even have as debt. It's putting it all into one place so you can understand it. So like all of those different tasks. Okay, I need to work on understanding what my finances are. I'm gonna write down all my expenses. I'm gonna write down all of what I spend money on that's not like necessary. I'm gonna look at my bank account and everything I have spent money on, and then I'm gonna write down how much money comes in every month, how much money goes out, and then I'm gonna sit down and do the math, and then maybe decide what comes in, what comes out, what I need to change. And again, 6 different steps. Start with 1. This week I'm gonna do step 1. Next week I'm gonna do step 2, and that makes it so that you're not tackling your entire life in 1 week. And even like you see, like a whole week sounds like a lot to do something that for some people it takes 30 minutes. Doesn't matter. For you, it might take you the whole year. We are really bad. Like, I set a budget every month. I'm very good at the math part of it. I can tell you how much I can or shouldn't spend here and there. And then I just say screw it. And as soon as I hit my budget of how much I should be spending, like I say, this is our goal, then I'm like, well, but I still want this. It'll just come out of next month. And then we do that. And then we're like, now we don't have money for savings because we overspent it. And so you can, again, different skills for different things. So if you can break your goals into smaller steps, that's going to make a big difference. And then another self-care thing is to do check-ins. Again, new year, new me. So now we want to do these goals that are for a year. A year is kind of a long time. And it's very easy for time to just kind of pass. And then suddenly it's August and you're like, I haven't done this thing I said I was going to do. And now I have 3 months to do it by the end of the year. That isn't realistic. So if instead you have something that like quarterly or monthly check-ins, whatever's doable for you, you could just put it on your calendar. Like, hey, look at my bills, look at my credit score. Like, you get a free credit score report. What is it? Three different bureaus do it, right? 3 or 4 a year. So that's every 4 months or every 3 months. And you can set that, like, do the Experian, this one, Trans, whatever. Like, and that way you have something that's set in the calendar that you're just gonna kind of kick you back into place. I have to keep taking deep breaths because I get really heightened. Again, thank you guys so much for those who are watching the videos. I know it's not a lot of people right now. Maybe one day it'll be a lot of people and they'll be like, what? But I'm not editing and I'm just kind of going with the flow, and it's really helped me because if not, I'm not gonna be able to do this. So instead of relying on I'm just gonna be motivated to do the thing, like I could just feel good and do it, give yourself those, break it down. If that means writing it into your calendar, or even if it means a weekly check-in for like health issues. So monthly, let's say I'm going to set my doctor's appointments. If you have teeth issues, every 6 months is the standard, right? Like, you set the thing on your calendar and you're like, no, I have to do it, etc. Obviously, depending on the issues that you have, like if you're working on your relationship with your spouse or your partner, then you might want to do weekly check-ins with each other, or whatever it is that you're working on. Whatever it is, kind of whatever, I keep saying whatever, but like something that works within your capacity. I can't give you like a specific because it's not going to be right for you. Okay, so now in the self-direction, I am going to give you more specific things. I want to say choose 1 to 3 focuses that will guide you through the year. I've been doing this for the last few years and I think it's been very helpful. You don't have to do it exactly how I said, but I choose like a focused word, something that I want to work on throughout the year. I think about what I've struggled with, what I didn't struggle with this previous year, and then what I want to focus on. And then the word for me is just kind of like a reminder, a constant, like, okay, this is my focus. So I kind of just something, so like an intention. You can make this more like a values-based thing where you're like, I want to focus more on this value that I have. You can do it more like a, I don't know how to word that, but you don't have to do it exactly how I said it. You don't have to choose 3 exact words. I just think it's a good way to start it. For example, this year I'm focusing on optimism, confidence, vitality, and sustainability. I've been very negative. This has been a good year overall for me. Bad things have happened, but a lot of good things have happened. Like, it has been a really good year for me. And yet, I still act like it was a bad thing. Good things happen to me, and my brain still reacts like it's a bad thing, because my brain's used to having a negative reaction right off the bat. Like, it's used to like, nothing's good, don't trust anything. And I don't want that feeling to kind of like this was a good thing. It's an awesome thing. Was it stressful? Yes. Did I have to do a lot of things out of my comfort zone? Yes. Do I have to continue? Yes. And it's a good thing. It's like, I should be happy about it, right? And that's what I want to work on this year. I'm seeing things in a more positive light. And then looking at the stuff I have to do in a sustainable way. So I'm not forcing myself to go through a month where I scheduled everything I need to do for 1 month to the point where like I can't do it, so I'm staying up super late to do stuff, and I'm tired and I'm cranky, and it feels like I'm doing a bad thing when it's a good thing, right? Like, because I didn't do something over a longer period of time, and I didn't put goals where they should have been, and I didn't, manage my self-care, and I didn't manage, like, so I need to, that's something I need to work on. That's what I want to do. So that's why I'm putting sustainability in there. And then confidence, because like I struggle with that. I still, like, in my brain, every time somebody tells me something about the book, I feel like they're going to turn around and be like, oh, I read it, it sucks. And I haven't had anybody tell me something negative about it. Like, I think it might actually be a good book, and yet I can't say that. Like, I'm having a hard time actively just saying I wrote a good book. I'm a good writer. I'm a good It's so hard. I don't like it. It feels wrong. And so I want to work on learning confidence throughout the year. Not so much like I'm going to be confident, but like I want to focus on building up the confidence. And so some of the things that I've written down for what I want to do throughout the year focus a lot on learning the ideology behind it, and focusing on how to change some of that ideology. Because I've gone through to the point where like I can say I love myself. I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of this. Now, to say I love myself and I like myself, very separate things. And so I'm working on that. And so that's why I'm putting those kind of words to help me. I keep saying like they're in the air, but that's the way I see it. I might write them down somewhere. I might make a drawing with them. I might, something that helps me remember. Whew. And so I think it's helpful to do that. Again, you could do more of a statement. Like, this year I will focus on being more this, or doing more of this, or something that is kind of like a mantra, I guess, for the year. You want to set flexible pathways instead of very rigid resolutions, right? So you want to say, throughout the year, I want to work on this. And so the tasks themselves should, instead of being like, I'm going to read 10 books about confidence this year, I might read one, and it might take me the whole year to read it, because I'm really focused on the concepts, and I really like something, and I put it into thought, and I have to like work on it each week, or I talk to people about it, or I, like, I'm not going to put a rigid timeline on certain things, because I know myself, and I know that I tend to take time to process certain things. And so you want to be flexible, but still kind of understand like what your options are. So a great way to say, like, you want to read more. You could say, I'll write down 12 books I want to read. And you could say, as a SMART goal, I'm going to read 10 pages 5 nights a week. Well, maybe you chose a book that's really long. It's going to take you, like, at that pace, you're not going to be able to do just 1 month. So then you're like behind. So that's where that flexibility comes. No, this is going to take longer. I'm just going to let that be the next month. And one of the books is just going to have to fall off. And that's okay. 11 books, still amazing compared to nothing, right? So that's where that flexibility comes in. And then you want to kind of focus on what's non-negotiable and aligned with your values versus, I constantly get told what I should do all the time. Well-meaning people, awesome people, constantly telling me, well, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. And I know some of those things would be good. Some of those things are not within my capacity. Some of those things might be in my capacity later. I need to understand what I can and can't do with my life. What doesn't fit my values right now. Like me right now, pretty much anything that forces me to choose something other than my son in any kind of long term, where it's not just like for an hour a day or something, yes, would it speed run a lot of things for me if he was in daycare for 8 hours a day? Yeah. Would I feel comfortable with that? No. So I don't want to do it. And I'm allowed to not want to do that. Other people are perfectly okay, and it's not an issue for them, and that's okay. It's a different value, it's a different decision, and so I'm able to make that decision because I've set it in place. Now when I get ideas for different things, I can be like, okay, well, this might work, but only if I do it in this way, and this might work if I do it in this way. This is not something that works, etc. So focus on that. Create structures that support that consistency without burnout. That's that checking in and understanding where that things can take a little bit longer and be more sustainable in that way than for you to try to do everything in 1 month. So I have goals set throughout the month for me. I have like tasks I need to do, and then I have like my big things that I do every month, and then I have things I want to try to do, but I'm gonna have to put time and effort into deciding how they'll fit in. So I'm not saying for the month of January I'm gonna create 12 new like programs or something like that, because I want to create certain things for my books, certain things for my work. I want to get back into certain kinds of coaching work, and so I'm not gonna make myself do all of that in January so that I have the rest of the year to share it, right? Like, no, things can come slowly, and that's okay. I will do a better job with it that way. In the past, I've forced myself to do like a ton of stuff, and then because I was so burnt out, I was like, I don't actually want anybody to see this. I don't want anybody to know about it. I don't have the mental energy to do anything with it, and I'm done with it, and then I don't touch it for years. And so I don't want that. So that's part of that. And then I have done posts before about the motivation myth. And so stay away from anything that's like the willpower myth. Sorry, that's the word. The idea that you could just activate like just go and do it. Like, you're not gonna want to do, like, cleaning's a big one. Not everyone likes to clean their house, and so people are just like, you should just do it, just make yourself do things. And that idea that like you should just feel motivated suddenly gets in the way of you being able to do more. And so there's this concept called behavioral activation I had to learn through therapy because I'm not good at it. Basically, in order to build up motivation, you have to build up momentum. So in order to get to the point where like you just do the thing, you need to start doing a tiny thing. So maybe for you, it was watching this video and you're like, okay, this gave me some actionable steps. I'm gonna do one of them. Then you're like, I did that one. Well, that wasn't that hard, or that took me this time. I think I could do the next one within this time. And so then you do the next thing, and then the next thing, and then it snowballs into you having had motivation to do all the things, without it being that you were like, I'm gonna do all the things and I just don't know where to start and I can't do mine and I can't get up. It's just a really good way for you to look at it versus forcing yourself. And then another thing was to focus on, again, the big thing for that you should put into like sorry, did I start this section? I told you the section is self-direction. Focus on discernment versus pressure. You're gonna get pressured to do certain things. People are gonna tell you need to have kids, you need to get a better job, you need to, like, there's all these things, like you need to go to church, you need to, people mean well. I think most of the time people mean well. Again, what are your values? What do you understand about yourself? Like I said earlier, there was a person that I gave advice to, and that person now is living a significantly better life. They had to focus. They had to make the decision to focus on much smaller, much more specific things in their life before they could do these other bigger things, because they could not get from one to the other without there being a process to it. And they had to make that decision for themselves. People could have pressured them to do it differently. With me, it's the same thing. Like, I had to go based on what felt right for me in order to do the thing that feels right. I've been told many times, like, there's a lot of things I could do. There's everyone. And there's a lot of things any of us could do. That doesn't mean it's what's right for us. You get to discern that. Okay, being yourself in the world. I know this video is really long. I'm sorry. Okay, so let's resist the pull to perform a new year, new me. You don't have to make a post. You don't have to talk about your year if you don't want to. You don't have to make goals. You don't have to do anything. You're allowed to do whatever you want to do. You don't have to perform. Even if people expect it from you. I remember I've been doing the word of the year thing. And I don't remember what year it was. 24, 23. I just didn't do it. I didn't get around to it. And I didn't want to force myself to it. And in the sense, I still put thought and effort into my life. But I just couldn't. I had too much going on. And so instead of forcing yourself to perform a task, just do the work you want to do. And that means showing up authentically within your limits, within your capacity, and being honest with yourself with what you can and can't do. Maybe you cannot save $300 every check. like sometimes these like financial people, they'll tell you like, you if you just put this much away every check, then you'll have this much, and it's like, okay, I don't have that. Like, I'm like, no. Like, you're like, how about I put $5 away, and I'll commit to not spend this one thing because I still want the other things, or because I don't have it, etc. Within your limits, show up and do the thing. Like, you're like, I still care about this. It's not that I don't care about this thing because I can't do a ton of it. I'm just gonna do it my way, and I'm gonna do little by little until it feels right to do more by more, until I work up to more and more within your capacity. And then let your direction reflect who you already are, not who you think you must become. Start learning how to love who you are right now, because that's who you are right now. If you die tomorrow, that's who you are right now. Your ideas and hopes to become someone new, it's not who people will remember you as. Sounds really negative, but you are worthy of love. You are worthy of care. You are worthy of being great and being loved and everything right now, as you are, in whatever your worst state can be. Right now, you are. Okay? And then throughout the year, take that into the focus of the year. Is this your year? Yay, new year. I don't know. The world seems it's gonna be very hard to be optimistic. I'm gonna have a lot of opportunities to practice that. But maybe this is all what we all need. We all need a really strong external motivator to make a better world. And then if you're a person of faith, some of the biblical anchors are the ideas that, like, the verse I wrote down, commit to the Lord, whatever you do, he'll establish your plans. There's a lot to be said about putting your faith and on the line when you're making decisions about how you want to move forward in life. And that doesn't just go with big steps, it goes with the little ones, because it goes with you saying, okay, maybe I'm not making a decision to do this huge thing, but I'm trusting that if I stick to doing the small things, they will lead to the big things, and I will stick with it long enough to see the result, and God will guide me through it. Like, I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me doesn't mean I am gonna go walk on water right now, but maybe it's a good idea to learn how to swim, and he will guide me to the right instructor. I'm trying to be cheesy, but that's what I mean. But yeah, I will put some resources on here. I put the to-do list, 3 things. Choose 3 focus words or intentions for the year. Write out what they mean to you. Like, I wrote like a little word cloud thing that kind of was like, okay, optimism. I gotta work on gratitude. I gotta work on hopefulness, etc. So talk about whether you journal, draw, however you want to do it, but think about it, how it aligns with your values. Then identify your capacities, all of your limits for the next year. How much energy are you expected to have? What are kind of things that are going on in your world? Do you have like a wedding every single month that you need to go to, so you need to consider, but that's going to affect how you make decisions about your finances? Do you have a bunch of school-based things that you're going to have to do with your kids? So maybe you shouldn't plan a bunch of things for Saturdays. Like, that's not a day that you can use up with. So your energy, your time, your finances, your mental capacity, your physical capacity, all of it. Now, list the goals that you've been carrying around. And you're like, I want to lose weight. I want to make money. I want a new job. Not so that you can set those as the things you want to do, but as for you to write about, not write. If you don't want to write, whatever. Think them in your head. Analyze them with the new mind of, do they fit my values? Do they fit within my capacity? Do they fit within a larger capacity of, like, maybe I can't get to this point this year, but maybe I could do parts of it over the next couple years, etc. And then I want you to choose just one intention to start off your year, your month, something small and actionable. Like I said, like, say hi to the lady at the cashier, put $5 away, eat one fruit, choose one smaller bag of chips instead of the big bag. What else is there? That's a lot of little things like that. Look at your bank account. You write down, what you're spending on. There's a lot of life things, right? But, like, call a friend. Just little things. Whatever you're working on, choose one small thing. And then my call to action for this month is, please check out my book. It's on Amazon, on Barnes & Noble. I have it. You can get it at any bookstore. If you, it's on Ingram Sparks, so that's like the distributor. Any bookstore, if they don't have it, you just tell them, "Can I order it through you?" And they'll get it for you. Through the library, I would really like it if you can get it to a library. Let me know, so I can know that it's there. And yeah, I really hope you like it. Go to Bookshop. Go to on my website. There's all the websites that I have it on, and it's on a ton of different ones. There's ones that are cheaper than the others, so there's Drift Books, all of that. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm sorry it was so long. I'm sorry I had to have so many pauses. I'm sorry I'm talking so fast. I'm tired and I need to go back out there with my kid. I love you guys. That was weird to say, but I do, and I never usually say that. Sorry. Wish me luck on trying to be more positive, and I'll see you at the new year.